What if there was a third industrial revolution? Imagine, for a moment, the fabric of global civilization poised on the brink of another monumental transformation. The first industrial revolution unfurled in the roar of steam engines and the clatter of mechanized looms, birthing the modern world upon the bedrock of coal, iron, and human ingenuity. The second swept through cities and countryside alike with electricity and the assembly line, drawing forth sprawling metropolises, mass mobility, and a degree of interconnectedness previously unthinkable. Now let us imagine, what if there was a third industrial revolution? To understand this hypothetical epoch, we must first recall the essence of what has come before. Each industrial revolution was characterized by the introduction of new energy systems and modes of communication that utterly reshaped how societies organized, communicated, and produced. The steam engine and printing press underpinned the first. Electricity, the internal combustion engine, and the telephone powered the second. Each ushered in sweeping changes, social upheaval and technological marvels, the creation of wealth and the deepening of inequalities, environmental transformation and urbanization. The third industrial revolution, as it unfolds in the collective imagination, emerges from the convergence of digital technologies, renewable energies, and new forms of automated production. Unlike its predecessors, this revolution is defined not by the harnessing of a single resource, but by the interlinking of three pillars: digital communication, sustainable energy, and intelligent automation. Let us journey through what this transformation might look like, its profound implications, and what it would mean for humanity's future. Picture the world's infrastructure being reborn. Where smokestacks once billowed and power lines crisscrossed landscapes, the new world is woven together by smart grids, vast, intricate networks powered by sun, wind, and water. Each home, each office, each vehicle is both a consumer and producer of energy, connected through an Internet of Energy. Rooftop solar panels and compact wind turbines silently accumulate power, sharing and distributing surplus electricity locally and globally through decentralized, blockchain-managed systems. Gone are the days of fossil fuel dependence. Power is clean, pervasive, and intelligent, managed by algorithms that anticipate demand and obviate waste. Within the beating heart of cities and towns, automation surges forward, not the replacement of artisan with machinery, as in the first revolution, nor simply the acceleration of productivity, as in the second. Instead, imagine entire industries transformed by artificial intelligence and the encroachment of robotics into tasks from the mundane to the mind-bogglingly complex. Factories no longer churn incessantly, but hum with optimized bespoke production runs. 3D printers, additive manufacturing, allow for unprecedented customization and local production. Need a replacement part or a new tool? It's printed on demand, reducing waste and the need for vast inventories or transoceanic shipping. Work reshapes itself, and so do human lives. The very concept of employment, long synonymous with the daily grind, comes under new scrutiny. Some repetitive roles vanish into the realm of automation, while others require reskilling and adaptability. Traits uniquely human. Education, too, is revolutionized, shifting from static memorization to lifelong adaptive learning, made possible through interactive AI tutors and immersive virtual environments. Emotional intelligence, creativity, and critical thinking come to the fore, as the value of uniquely human traits becomes clear in a landscape increasingly shared with machines. Entire new fields blossom at the intersection of biology, technology, and data. Bioinformatics, synthetic biology, immersive design, regenerative medicine. Commerce becomes decentralized, with secure, transparent digital ledgers, blockchain technologies. Middlemen fade from prominence. Peer-to-peer transactions, smart contracts, and decentralized marketplaces flourish, making global trade more accessible but also more disruptive of traditional power structures. Money itself morphs. Digital currencies, alongside traditional ones, flow seamlessly across borders. Supply chains are rendered almost invisible. They become webs of value, tracing the path of goods and services, not simply for efficiency, but also for ethical provenance and sustainability. Transportation, once the beating pulse of the second revolution, undergoes an equally dramatic metamorphosis. Autonomous electric vehicles glide in silence through streets and highways, reducing congestion and the dangers of the road. Mobility becomes a service, summoned instantly, tailored to each need and rider, interconnected with public transit and last-mile solutions. Hyperloop tubes and vertical takeoff aircraft shrink distances, weaving villages and cities into even tighter lattices. The layers of roads and rails give way to multimodal, dynamic networks where people and goods flow seamlessly, with minimal waste of time, energy, or resources. Perhaps nowhere is the impact of the Third Industrial Revolution more keenly felt than in the environment. Reimagined agriculture, vertical farms rising in city centers, drones tending to vast fields, artificial intelligence optimizing water, fertilizer, and crop selection, drastically lessens humanity's footprint on the planet. Forests recover, waters run clearer, circular economies dominate. Products are designed from the outset to be recycled, repurposed, or composted, because waste has become not only unsustainable, but economically foolish. Across continents, once marginalized communities are swept into the current of transformation. First, energy democratization means rural villages, once isolated by geography or poverty, become self-sufficient microgrids, empowered by the sun and wind above them. Education through digital networks reaches remote learners who were previously cut off from opportunity. Healthcare, too, is revolutionized. AI diagnostics, wearable sensors, and telemedicine bridge the gap between the world's best doctors and far-flung communities. The gap between rich and poor, city and countryside, narrows with every passing year. Not without strife, but with hope that the arc bends toward justice. But for all its promise, this third revolution brings risks and challenges. Automation, while increasing prosperity overall, threatens traditional livelihoods and exacerbates anxieties about the place of humans in a world shared with, and in some respects, directed by, intelligences of our own creation. The shift to digital currencies erodes the monopoly of national governments over monetary systems, introducing new complexities in governance and economic stability. Data becomes the new oil, and with it, questions of privacy, surveillance, and autonomy become urgent and contentious. Nations and global institutions, battered by the speed and unpredictability of change, must reimagine their roles. Policy and governance lag behind, racing to keep up with the spread of new technologies and the shifting patterns of power and influence. Some struggle to adapt, experiencing dislocation and unrest. Others flourish, becoming beacons of innovation and resilience. The world sees an ever-accelerating divergence between those who embrace the revolution's opportunities and those who are left behind by its relentless march. And so, as the Third Industrial Revolution unfolds, it is not merely a story of wires and algorithms, of silicon and sunlight. It is a profound, unpredictable transformation of what it means to be human in an interconnected, intelligent, and sustainable world. It is the forging of new communities, the birth of new possibilities, and the struggle to ensure that the fruits of progress are not just the property of a privileged few, but a shared inheritance for all humanity. Envision, then, waking to a world where every facet of life is touched by the revolution's reach. Your alarm clock, synchronized with your calendar and well-being monitor, wakes you gently, at the perfect time, based on your sleep cycles and the shape of your day ahead. Your breakfast is prepared with ingredients ordered from local vertical farms, optimized for nutrition, flavor, and environmental impact. As you prepare to leave, your clothing, perhaps self-cleaning, certainly sustainably sourced, adapts to your city's climate, which is no longer subject to the whims of obsolete fossil fuels. Your commute might not exist at all. Telepresence and immersive digital spaces allow billions to work, learn, and create from wherever they are, together yet apart. If travel is necessary, a silent, shared, and autonomous electric vehicle awaits at your door, dynamically routed to fit your needs and those of the community around you. Energy, water, and materials are used mindfully, with waste nearly eliminated and systems designed for endless reusability. At work, creativity is king. Analytical drudgery, repetitive calculation, and rote labor are gently absorbed by the tireless efficiency of AI and robotics. Your role? Orchestrating, guiding, dreaming, directing the collaboration between machine and mind. Teams are global, diverse, and self-organizing, forming and disbanding according to shifting needs and grand ambitions. In education, lifelong, personalized learning becomes not just possible, but necessary and celebrated. Children and adults alike build their own curricula, diving into knowledge with the aid of intelligent tutors and ever-expanding libraries of immersive content. Skills are sharpened as needed. Today, a lesson in the latest code. Tomorrow, a masterclass in storytelling or empathy. The classroom is everywhere and nowhere. A park bench, a private room, a virtual world. Healthcare has transformed through the fusion of bioinformatics, personal data, and AI. Early warning signs of disease are flagged before symptoms emerge. Preventative care is tailored to your individual genome and environment. Remote surgeries, augmented by robotic hands and artificial vision, are conducted across continents. Lives are saved and lengthened, not only by new drugs and procedures, but by smarter, more humane systems of care. The arts, too, enter a renaissance. With basic needs met more reliably and collaboration easier than ever, creative expression explodes. Artists experiment with mediums both physical and digital, crossing boundaries and forging entirely new forms. Music, film, literature, and visual art blur with immersive virtual experiences, shaped as much by the audience as the creator. Even AI-generated art becomes part of the tapestry, provoking new debate about the nature of creativity and the role of the human muse. Meanwhile, communities find renewed strength and identity. Local production, empowered by global knowledge and distributed technologies, revitalizes cities, towns, and even rural villages. Independence in energy and manufacturing means communities can resist the homogenizing force of globalization, finding unique balances between tradition and innovation. Governments face unprecedented challenges, yet harness equally unprecedented tools. Transparent, participatory systems of governance emerge, powered by digital tools that allow for real-time feedback, deliberation, and even direct democracy. Policy is shaped not just in capitals, but in neighborhoods and online forums. The challenge is immense: to harness collective innovation without succumbing to surveillance or the manipulation of information. As the revolution gathers pace, new questions arise. In a world of abundance, what becomes of scarcity? In a world awash with information, what becomes of wisdom? In a world where machines perform increasing shares of work, what becomes of purpose, of meaning, of the social glue that binds people together? These questions do not have simple answers, but the third revolution gives us tools to grapple with them as never before. Yet, the shadows of previous revolutions linger. The promise of universal uplift has too often been betrayed by division, avarice, and conflict. The third industrial revolution brings the risk of deepening divides between the digital haves and have-nots, between societies that embrace change and those that cling to the old order. It raises urgent issues of ethics, stewardship, and the rights of individuals and communities in a world increasingly shaped by opaque systems and algorithms. How humanity answers these questions will define the revolution's ultimate legacy. Great wealth and power are within reach, but so too is the specter of alienation and dispossession. The promise of ecological healing stands alongside the risk of new forms of exploitation and surveillance. Utopian visions jostle with dystopian fears. Still, there is reason to hope. The tools of the third industrial revolution are, in some sense, more democratizing, more accessible, and more transparent than those that came before. Open-source technologies, crowdfunding platforms, and participatory networks mean that invention and innovation are no longer the preserve of giant institutions alone. Grassroots movements, from renewable energy co-ops to community-based AI labs, spring up worldwide, driven by the conviction that this time, the benefits can be more equitably shared. Children growing up in this world might come to see energy scarcity, environmental collapse, and grueling, repetitive toil as relics of a darker age, much as we today view the pollution-choked cities and tenements of Victorian England. Instead, they will inherit a global civilization that, though not without its challenges, is richer in possibilities, more capable of adaptation, and perhaps more attuned to the needs of both people and the planet. As the third revolution matures, it remakes not only economies and technologies, but the very idea of progress itself. Progress is no longer measured solely in terms of GDP, the tonnage of goods produced, or the miles of railways laid. New metrics emerge: well-being, resilience, education, sustainability, inclusion. The health of the environment becomes as important as the health of markets, the inclusion of the marginalized as vital as the profits of the powerful. Globally, humanity becomes more aware of its shared fate. Pandemics, climate change, and other global risks reveal the folly of thinking in purely national terms. International cooperation, once the preserve of diplomats and leaders, becomes a movement that bubbles up from ordinary people, amplified by digital networks, translated instantly between languages, propelled by a sense of shared destiny. Philosophers, ethicists, and everyday citizens alike take up the task of reimagining rights and responsibilities in an age of intelligence, both artificial and human. New declarations, new compacts, and new traditions emerge to guide the responsible development and deployment of powerful new tools. The debate is lively, contentious, and ongoing, but its very existence is a mark of progress, a sign that humanity is grappling not just with the how of technology, but with the enduring question of why. The third industrial revolution, then, is not a single event. It is a long, tumultuous, and exhilarating process, an unfolding drama in which every person, every community, and every institution has a role to play. It does not eliminate conflict or guarantee happiness. Instead, it offers new roadmaps, new possibilities, and new responsibilities. Will automation liberate human beings from drudgery or render them obsolete in the eyes of the market? Will renewable energies heal the planet or give rise to new forms of resource conflict? Will digital networks unite a fractured world or compound the forces of division and isolation? In the end, it is the choices that individuals and societies make, infused with wisdom, guided by ethics, and inspired by the best of human aspiration, that will answer these questions. So, as we ponder the question of what if there was a third industrial revolution, we are invited not just to peer into a future shaped by technologies as yet undreamed, but also to imagine our own place within it. To ask what we would create, what we would protect, and how we would ensure that the benefits of progress are widely enjoyed, not just by some, but by all, and not just for now, but for generations to come. In the end, the third industrial revolution is a mirror, reflecting back to us both the limits of our current world and the boundless potential of our collective imagination. It beckons us to dream bigger, to strive harder, and to remember that every revolution is, in its heart, a human one. Imagine, then, a world remade, not in the image of the past, but in the spirit of hope, creativity, and enduring possibility. This is the promise and the challenge of the third industrial revolution. And its story, ultimately, is not written in the algorithms of machines, but in the choices, dreams, and shared quest for a better tomorrow that define us all.